The door is off the hinges. I gotta fix the screen. Hurricane Ian. Hurricane Ian. I gotta fix the screen. I gotta fix all screens. Yeah, hurricanes. Fun things. Yeah, so I was asked the question, do you plan your videos? Like when you plan for hurricane. Do you plan your videos? And the answer is yeah, I actually do plan my videos sometimes. Like it would be much easier to work backwards. Like if I caught a bluefish, then I could be like, hey, I'm gonna make a video about catching bluefish. Okay, I've done that. But most times I actually plan it. You can tell I plan my videos if you ever watch the sheephead video I did when I never actually caught a sheep's head, right? So if the idea was to have caught the fish and then worked in reverse, I probably would have had actually caught a sheep's head at the end of the video, but I didn't. But the point is I plan a lot. I plan a lot because I believe in targeting your species. Like when I go down to some people say, hey, I don't care what I catch, I'll just catch it. Do you ever watch the video, Target Your Species? It's important to target your species. Like if you were going to go hunting, you're going to go out in the woods, and they was like, hey, what are you hunting for? I don't know, whatever I catch. I'm like, well, you better bring something within a BB gun if you're hunting for bear, right? You have to have the right rig when you're fishing. You have to have the right bait to target your species. So you really need to think about that. So you've got a plan. Okay, all that to say, what do you do when you've got your plan? You're targeting your species, you've got the right bait, you've got the right lures, whatever it is, and you go down to the water and the fish just are not participating. You got to change your tactics. And this video is all about the times when I have and have not changed my tactics. And that's what, change your tactics. How and when to change your tactics. Let's go. All right, we are checking the weather app, and in South Carolina, there's some storms, but right up where we are, it's clear. I'm looking at the weather. It looks good. I'm going to check the waves and with my wave finder app right now and see what's going on there. And I'm looking at 2 foot, 2.5 foot waves every 4 seconds. I can deal with that. Let's get on the boat. I got my coffee. I spilled my coffee. I got a water bottle, got a fishing rod, got a net to catch some bait. I got a tackle box, and I got some ballyhoo. So I got the dog. All I need to do is gas her up. So we're going, hey, look at that boat right there. That is a Tour H2O boat. That's from the summertime when I was down at Holden Beach doing that. I'm going to stop. I'm going to fill up the gas tank. Oh, yeah, blum, blum, blum. Yeah, that hurts. Pay the lady. So tactic number 1, we're going out to try to catch some king mackerel. I have never caught a king mackerel. I've caught a king mackerel. I've never gotten one in the boat, nor caught one in the surf. It's one of the only fish here. So I'm just trying to string up this ballyhoo, and then I realize I'm actually putting on this skirt the wrong way. Turn that around. I'm going to put this skirt on this ballyhoo, and I got this at Dutchman's Creek. They come pre-rigged, so I'm kind of cheating here a little bit. I didn't catch any bait. I just said, let's use the ballyhoo, and let's throw it out there, and just let's troll. We'll see if we can catch it. So I'm putting it out there. Got this new fancy rod from Sylvie. Thanks, Sylvie. We're going to try to catch a fish on it. It's way bigger, and I don't really know what I'm doing with it. I don't know what I'm doing on a boat. It's sands in the surf, people, right? Okay, so anyway, I'm trolling along, and I'm like, I'm going to catch me one of these there king mackerels. And I got a bite on the line, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. I was kind of expecting, I watch Wicked Tuna. I know when the fish is on. It pulls a lot of drag, right? But something was there, so I just started reeling it in. I'm like, well, maybe it's a really small king mackerel, right? And no, it was not a small king mackerel. It was not in the mackerel family at all. But as you can guess, it was in the drum roll please, shark family. Yes. So I caught a shark on my very expensive ballyhoo. But I'm going to put another one out. But what I noticed is I went down a little bit further, and you see the fish busting? I'm like, I'm seeing the fish busting. And I should have changed my tactic right there. I should have started throwing some spoons, because I saw some Spanish jumping, and then I started seeing some porpoise dolphins jumping, and I was like, man, there's bait here, there's fish here. I'm just going to stick my course and try to catch my king mackerel. I know if I had just picked up a spoon and started chucking some gotcha plugs, I would have got me some fish. Well, anyway, no king mackerel for me. So tactic number 2, let's catch some trout and some drum. I'm going to go out kayaking. If you saw my previous video, I did a kayaking video where I went out behind Sheep Island and I caught some fish. So this is the same spot as that. Check it out. And I caught this beautiful pigfish. That was like a 9-inch pigfish. And I was like, but that's not what I'm targeting, right? I'm going for trout. I had some wiggly worms I was throwing. What do you call them? Paddle tails. I had some paddle tails I was throwing. And I had just some shrimp. Fresh shrimp I was throwing. I really wanted to get a black drum. But I started getting some fish and I caught this puffer. And like and I just made this rig and I really like this rig and he swallowed this stupid thing and I'm like, well, I guess the puffer's going home. Then I started thinking about how big that pig was and I was like, I can get a couple more pigs. Tactic change, catching pigs and puffer. Yes, let's catch it. We're going to fill our bucket with pigs and puffer. I have no problem making pigs and puffer fish tacos. Puffer is one of my favorite fish. So I started catching pigs. I started doubling up. I think one of these is a pinfish, but these pigs were little. They were like 5 inches and I was like, man, I want to catch a big one. So I caught another one right after. I hit a pig pocket. I don't know what was going on, but there was just pig after pig after pig. No drum, no croaker, surprisingly. I didn't catch one croaker on this, or maybe I caught one croaker. I caught a couple of pins, but it was like pig after pig after pig. But look at these pigs. They're little. Here's another little pig, little piggy. And they're like, wah, 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 wah. And I've heard they're good eating, so I've tried them one time. It was a long time ago, and I'm doubling up again. And I'm like, I can't believe I can't get me a good pig. But I did manage to get myself a couple of more puffer, and I'll show you another one right here in a minute. But I ended up getting 4 decent-sized puffer, and then I really wanted to get the pig to go with it, so I'd have enough meat to make some fish tacos for the wife and I. Here's the second puffer, and he wasn't too bad. He got caught on my net, right? I didn't use the net. As I was getting him in, I put him in the boat, and he got caught on the net. And then I got myself a decent-sized pig, and I'm like, I'm putting him in the bucket. I'm going to take these guys home, clean them up, and make some puffer and pig fish tacos. So here's my 4 puffers. I've shown how to clean a puffer before, but I'm going to show it again just for any of you who don't know. They're not poisonous. You can eat them. They're delicious. I just cut behind the neck. You don't have to gut them. You don't have to scale them. I'm pulling back the skin a little bit. I know it's hard to see them big fat hands in the way. I'm pulling it back a little bit. I'm going to take a fork. I'm going to stick it in that meat right there. And I'm going to stick it in that meat right there. I'm going to pull, the whole little meat comes out, and it looks just like a big shrimp or something like that. Well, I didn't really show it to you, did I? Let's do another one. I cut right behind the head. There's the skull bone. I cut through the vertebrae, I guess. I'm just going to pull back the skin just a little bit so it's not in the way. It's like sandpaper, that skin. Stick the fork in it. Stick a fork in it, Sans. And just pull that piece of meat right out, and that's ready to go. Fries up great. All right, I thought I was going to eat puffer and pig for dinner, but Kim was like, let's go to the Lone Rider. So tactic change. We're going to the Lone Rider. This is right where I was just fishing. This is the Blue Water Point Marina there, where the Lone Rider. It used to be the old fish house. I had never been here since my first time. They do make the beers. They're actually a brewery up in Raleigh. They make Shotgun Betty and Sweet Josie Brown, I believe is the other one. And so, of course, I'm going to get an IPA. But yeah, if you're going to go to a brewery, or at least a satellite of a brewery, you should look at the draft list and get yourself a brewery. Get yourself a brew from the brewery. So I did. I got one right there, a little IPA, kind of citrusy. I like when my IPAs hoppy. I don't like them tasting like what's a grapefruit. That's not for me. Anyway, there's a lot of good fish. There's a lot of good fish on the menu. See, I got fish on the brain. There's a lot of good food on the menu. There was some fish sandwiches, but I was going to get the wings. And we got some of these little pretzels as appetizers. And I kind of tried to dip in the mustard sauce. That didn't work. But Kim figured out you could dip them in the queso dip, and that worked a lot better. So we just ordered some wings. We were just doing beers and wings and kind of having some fun with it. I got like some garlicky ones. I got some spicy hot ones. And I forget, Kim got some kind of wing flavored wings. I don't remember exactly. But they were pretty good. You know, it's a great place to go if you're just looking to hang out, have a beer, and get some pub food. That's really what it is. All right, back on the beach. Tactic, I'm going to catch a king mackerel from the surf. Show you our stance. Hey, I've done this before. Well, I haven't caught the king mackerel, but I've done this rig before. You can watch the video. I'll put a link above. Basically, I'm just throwing out the weight. Right there is a Spudnik weight, nothing else on that line. I've got braid, but I've got a monoliter to the Spudnik weight, and those things are like little footballs. You can throw them a really far distance. So I threw it way out there, and then I've got my little rig. It's a slider rig, so I'll show it to you right here. Basically, that piece right there connects to the line, and then there's a little weight. And then I got my hooks on there, right? So when I get my bait, which the idea is I'm going to catch a bluefish, I'll put it on there, and this tie goes around. The rabbit goes around the tree through the hole. This actually goes through that little wire clip there, and it slides back and forth. Look, here you go. It slides like that. So if I put a live bluefish on that, the theory, he's going to slide all the way down to the weight, where that weight's way out there, and I'm going to have a live bluefish swimming around. King mackerel comes along, and boom, I got the king mackerel, reel him in. Easy peasy. But the problem was, I didn't have any bait. I had this tactic. I was going to catch, there's been live bait in the surf for weeks, every time I go down there. And for whatever reason, this day, there was nothing there. And I had to have the live bait to catch the bluefish, right? So I can catch the king mackerel. That's my tactic. So what am I going to do? Well, I got to change my tactic. That's all. Luckily, if you watch the other video, I'll put a link to it here, my mullet video, I had caught some mullet already and I froze them. So I will use frozen bait. And I did cut up the frozen bait, and I put a couple pieces on a double drop rig, like small pieces, and then I put a big piece on a big, I took off the other rig and I put on like a shark rig, and I'm like, okay, tactic change. I will catch sharks now. I will catch a shark. I can't catch a king mackerel because I don't have a bluefish, so I'll just put this big old piece of hunk of meat on here and see if I can catch a shark. Sounds logical to me. Now there was one flaw with using the bait, the frozen bait, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, I just believe it in my head, is that when there is a lot of bait in the surf, and I think there was, I just think it had been pushed out, it was out further, not near the shore, the fish are going to go for the live bait, and they're not going to want to eat the frozen bait, so I didn't feel like I was having much luck. But then something did look, it bent my line, I picked it up, something had run with it, and I started pulling on it, and everyone's looking at me like, wow, he's got a really big fish on that line, and then I realized I was hung up. Who gets hung up in the surf? There's nothing to get hung up on. So tactic, get unhung. Get unhung up. Like I'm pulling on it and pulling on it. I walked all the way to the right. I walked all the way to the left. And finally, it actually came off. And then I went to set the line back up, rebait and everything, and this branch floated up. So I think what happened was from the hurricane, maybe like a little pine tree is underneath the water there, and that fish ran and got behind the pine tree, and they got stuck on that limb, and that broke off. That's my theory. Sounds good to me. Now, the fish started playing with the frozen bait. They kind of were interested in it, and I could see the rod jiggling a little bit, but then nothing was really happening. And I'm like, what's going on? And then it would jiggle again, and I'd run over, and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to get him, and then there's nothing, I'm feeling nothing there. So a little defeated, just put it back in the rod holder. What's going on? Like, why does this keep happening? As soon as I put it down, and then I'm looking at the other rod, and then I see the other rod bend, right? So I run over there. I'm like, I'm going to get a fish. And then that was the same situation. So, but luckily, while I was fishing, I noticed in the surf that some bait started to come by. I don't know what difference it was. I just couldn't get anything there, but I noticed I started seeing some bait come by. So I was like, let me get the cast net. I threw the cast net, and I was able to get some live minnows. So tactic change. Let's use live bait. See, this is the way it works. You got to change your tactics, people. So I put out the two pieces, the two live baits on the double drop I have here, and I still have that big chunk of meat out on the shark, and all of a sudden I got a hit, and I was like, cool, and I started reeling in, and then I realized the shark rig had a hook on it too. So tactic, catch two fish at once. So I'm trying to reel in the one line, and then I'm just trying to keep the other one tight enough so the fish can't get off. He wasn't a shark because he wasn't pulling it over, but he was pulling it enough. I could tell there was definitely fish on there. So I was like, let me get this first rod up. I got the fish. A fish in hand is worth two in the bush, right? But just keep the other one tight. I'm reeling it up. I get him up onto the beach, and I just pull him up on the beach, and I'm like, once he's landed on the beach, I'm just going to put the rod down in the rod holder and just run on over to that other one and see if I can reel that baby in right there. So finally I've got some fish on. You can see, if you look in the left hand corner there in the bottom, you can see the fish up on the shore. It's a bluefish. And so I got one bluefish there, and I'm reeling in this other one, and it was a decent fish. So I figured he's flopping around. See him? Yeah, right there. I'm like, oh, he's going to flop back into the water. Let me pick him up and throw him back a little bit. And then that's great fish handling, Sans. Yeah. Anyway, let me get this next one up here. And now my intention was actually to have the puffer and the pigs for dinner that night, but I think we're going to have a little tactic change. When I saw this bluefish here, I was like, this is nice. So I got two bluefish for the price of one. I'm actually going to throw one back. I'm going to take the other one, and I'm going to make me some bluefish for dinner tonight. So tactic change, bluefish dinner. There you go. Get out there and catch some fish. There's still some time before the cold months come in.